killed in service. It took years off my parents' life. And when he went, like, it affected every one of us. We loved him very much. It was hard to believe that he wasn't coming home. Well, we really didn't know what happened until I started digging and to find out what happened. And little by little, the story is coming together.
For almost 3 years after her son's death, Reginald Clark's mother wrote letters to the Army and her congressman, demanding information on her missing son. The Army never told her the truth.
And it's very important to me because it's something that I've wanted to know all my life. It's something that I think every parent or family would want to know. And they should start asking questions.
Was it after we read the article in the Tampa papers when things finally came together and you could start to figure out what had happened? 50 years later.
The waters over the Leopoldville are still swirling. The anger has not settled. Memories burn bright of that Christmas Eve more than a half-century ago. Memories of death. Of the 2,235 GIs who boarded the ship at Southampton, over 800 would die. No one is sure of the exact figures, since the passenger list was incomplete. Another 600 were wounded in the second largest sea disaster for U.S. forces in all the Second World War. Here, on the Wall of the Missing, in the U.S. Military Cemetery at Omaha Beach, are engraved the names of the 1,557 men listed as missing from the D-Day landings and the Battle of Normandy. Above their names is engraved the words, "Brothers in Arms, whose final resting place is known but to God." Almost half the names on this wall are the men of the 66th Division who died on the Leopoldville. But there is no mention of this ship disaster, here or any other place. It is hidden, but not forgotten.
They're not missing in action. Everybody knows where they are. They're buried with the ship, the same as the bodies who were recovered are buried in the military cemeteries there at Cherbourg.
The seafloor lies the wreck of the Leopoldville, lying on its side in 200 feet of cold, dark water. Two at the point of the torpedo's impact, but with the hull and guns still intact. There are no longer any visible human remains, only their long-lost possessions, helmets, rifles, bayonets. Chained to the dropped anchor recalls the failed struggle to survive. Ladders used for escape from below decks are still in place, just as they were that fateful night of Christmas Eve, 1944. An underwater grave of soldiers going to battle, but the battle came to them first.
that's their cemetery. The fact that there are no white crosses or anything still doesn't mean that that's not their burial place.
I can remember details exactly as they happened. Even though I'm 72 years old now, my mind is clear as a bell, and it comes back to me every Christmas.
I have tried for 50 years to forget this thing, and it wasn't until the end of the 50 years that I finally came clean with myself and realized that all I was doing was burying it.
It was, I don't know, just was sort of sacred. I didn't really talk a whole lot about it to anyone. I did tell my family and some close friends, but that was about it.
In my opinion, my personal opinion is that I'd rather know the truth than for someone to deceive me. Tell me what it is. I can adjust to that. But if I'm adjusting to something where it's got a lot of question marks hanging onto it, you just can't make any closure on it at all.
800 Americans went down with that ship, and they would not tell the people about it. That's wrong. There's something wrong. A lot of American people was hurt because they did not know what happened. What happened to their sons? They did not know what happened.
They died unnecessarily, and the people who were really responsible for their death have just gotten away with it to an extent that I don't think any of them even have a guilty conscience. They are allowed by the system of secrecy, of not pushing for details, to go along about their lives and not care.
I still think it was a travesty of justice. It never should have happened. We shouldn't have had the loss. The torpedo, and sure, those things happen. That's an act of war. But the way it was handled and the way it was mishandled after it occurred, there's no forgiveness.